Are you helping? You are such a good helper. Greetings, everyone. So, it's not going to be a big shocker to reveal to you that the most challenging part of this whole cochlear implant and just my hearing loss journey in general has been, dealing with the loss of music. It'll be 2 years this May 2025 of going bilateral with Meniere's disease, and I'm still emotionally not over it. Yes, I have a very good therapist, and I still see the loss of music for me, the level of loss that I've had with it, it still feels like an insurmountable loss to me. Now, I don't want this video to be depressing. I want to make sure my goal with these videos is to try to just help people practically. And I don't want to make a video about how terrible music sounds and just have it be that, because what's the point of that? And I have struggled with that. Every single day, I'm tempted to scream from the rooftops about how miserable music is for me. And I don't know that that would do anyone good at all in the universe. But I get it. If you're a musician out there and you have, your ears are wrecked from Meniere's disease or from anything else, and I get it. It feels unfair and you're mad and angry, and I get it. And I'm still dealing with it. And still processing it after a couple years. So today I want to talk about what music sounds like through my cochlear implant, because if you've seen the last video that I did, and I'll put it up here, you've learned that now I'm pretty much almost completely deaf in my other ear, so I have to fully rely now on my cochlear implant for hearing everything, and that includes music. So again, I don't want this video to be depressing, but we have to look at the reality. And the reality is that music through a cochlear implant doesn't sound great. And honestly, if you're a musician with a very critical ear, it's going to sound terrible. And again, that's not me being pessimistic. I don't know of any person that's like, music sounds amazing through this implant. And you'll see if you Google, the research is out there. They're trying, to find ways to improvement. But again, and I said this in the last video, the reality is that cochlear implants, first and foremost, the goal is to improve speech. That's it. That's the goal, right? And I understand that, and I'm thankful for that. They can't knock it out of the park with, everything, but that's the most important thing. And so music isn't, on the top of the list of what to improve. There's all kinds of research going on in the cochlear implant community trying to see what we can do to improve it. One of the things that's, again, very different from a cochlear implant to a hearing aid to understand is this idea of easily accessible EQ. So what do I mean by that? If you have seen my videos, you might remember the hearing aid video where we talk about kind of how hearing aids work, and I talk a little bit about EQ. I'll put that video up here if you want to check it out. So when we talk about EQ, stands for equalization. Let's shove aside all the academic and science explanations, and let's just say it's like your car stereo. It's like the bass, mids, and treble on your car stereo, basically. And on my hearing aid, I actually had access to that, so I could kind of tweak those settings very, very easily. But with my cochlear implant, I don't have that option on my app. In fact, as far as I've checked, there's really only one company that offers that, and that's the Cochlear company. In fact, I've kind of polled some people in the community, and from what I understand, out of the big three companies, Advanced Bionics, MED-EL, and Cochlear, Cochlear is the only company that has an app that has some access to like bass and treble, where you can kind of adjust things a little bit. Now, the reason why, and I'm guessing, I don't know, I'm assuming why it's not as readily available is because it's a different animal, right? We're not talking about a hearing aid, which is just a speaker, and we're kind of, filtering out, or we're bumping up the amplitude of certain frequencies. Here, what we're doing with the cochlear implant is we're talking about changing the amplitude of electrodes. To me, that sounds more intense and complicated, and possibly dangerous. So it's a little bit more detailed and intricate, and so I'm assuming that's maybe why we don't have access as easily to it. I don't know. So all that to say is, if something doesn't sound great, I don't have a quick way of adjusting that. Like, just if you're riding in your car, like if the bass is feeling too heavy, you can just reach up and turn that bass down. I don't really have an option for that with my cochlear implant. Now, there are a couple of different ways I can listen to music. I could just listen to it like I would hear anything else, right? I have microphones on my little headpiece, my processor here, and I can listen to it like I would listen to any sound. But I can also stream it directly through Bluetooth. That's actually the method I prefer. It sounds the best. It's like the best out of the not great options, basically. Now, there are other things like adapters and such, where I can also listen to music, but that's basically the same as streaming. Now, I'm also, because I only have a CI on one side, an implant on one side, basically it is, I can't hear in stereo, right? So everything I'm hearing is basically smashed together and summed. Both channels are going through one side, basically. So I'm not missing, again, if you're a musician, you'll appreciate this. I'm not like missing information that's on the right side that I would be hearing if I had a second implant. All that is being kind of summed and smashed together for me on my left side. Now, I've tried to make the most of, I'm like, well, if I can't control the EQ at that level, what are the other things I have control of, right? So Spotify is how I mainly listen to music. Spotify has an equalizer. If you've never found it, it's on the web-based version and on the app version of your phone. I'll blast a picture up here so you can see my settings are a little bit crazy. My CI tends to, at least right now, is very, very bright, probably too bright. I need to go in, and I'm going in for a mapping tweak here soon. Because of that, like the S's are really sibilant and sharp and harsh. And so when I listen to music, that makes, music sound harsh. So I kind of have to offset that EQ where I'm trying to bump up the low end. And I say low end, but my implant I can't hear anything below 150 hertz with my implant. So everything from there up, I try to bump up a little bit and then pull the highs way down. If you look at my car EQ, that's another level of control that I have is in my car. So I have Spotify on a certain curve, and then my car stereo also looks the same. It looks really wonky. Here's a picture. If you get in my car, I'm sorry, but this is what the EQ setting is. So I've tried to do what I can, and those settings that I'm showing you here have actually helped a lot. Music sounds a little bit less anemic with those, the lows and mids kind of bumped back up. It kind of makes up for what's lost. And not lost because I can't hear it, but lost because of the settings on my implant that are geared for speech. Now, I wanted to try to dial up an example of what music sounds like. And, I used to love doing that. I could pull up, my software, my Ableton Live software, and say, well, let me show you how this sounds. But the funny thing is, like, I could try to guess, and I could try to engineer it. So like, hey, here's what music sounds like for me. But the funny thing is, I wouldn't be able to check it. I would be building an example of something that sounds busted, but I would be checking it with a kind of a busted, ear. So instead, I've drawn you a little picture. So this is what music sounds like for me. It's not everyone's reality with a cochlear implant, although I've heard people describe similar experiences, but this is what it sounds like. If you're a music nerd, you'll appreciate this, and if you're not, I'll try to explain it. So let's pretend we're in your car and we're going to make some serious modifications to your stereo. At least we're going to tweak it so that you get my experience. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a formant shift to all the vocals pretty much that you hear. And if you don't know what a formant shifter is, there's a song by Disclosure called Looking for Love. They're constantly changing, where sometimes the voice sounds chipmunky and sometimes it kind of sounds lower. So basically all the vocals that I hear now sound a little bit lower, like not lower in pitch, but we're talking about a formant. Basically, we're talking about the acoustics of the throat, the timbre, timbre of voice. What makes the difference between a female and a male sounding voice? So all the vocals that I hear now kind of sound a little bit deeper. It's a little bit weird. That's the first tweak we're going to make. Second thing we're going to do is all the guitars you hear, and definitely the electric guitars, we are going to wreck them. We're going to throw them through a fuzz pedal. And then, if they're already fuzzy, if they're already distorted, this is going to make it even more brutal to listen to. So we're going to throw them through a fuzz pedal. And then what we're going to do is all the chords you're going to hear, whether they come from a piano or keys, or maybe they are guitars, any kind of sense of harmony, we're just going to turn that almost all the way down. How are we feeling? We feeling good about this? Great. Let's keep going. Then we're going to take all of this and we're going to throw it through another fuzz pedal. We're going to add a layer of just crunchy distortion to everything. It's going to sound kind of fried. Like it's frying in a frying pan, pretty much. All of it all baked down together. We're going to run everything through another fuzz pedal. Then we're going to take all that and we're going to look at your bass, mids and treble on your stereo here. And we're just going to turn that bass pretty much all the way down. All of it. If you've got sub bass, forget it. We're turning it all the way down too on that one. And then mids, we're actually going to take a little bit of that out as well. That's one of the main reasons why we're having trouble discerning any kind of chords. But the treble, we're going to jack that up. And that is what music sounds like to me through my cochlear implant. Listen, it's depressing and it's sad and it makes me angry. But, this is my way of having a little bit of humor and laughing about it. Listen, the reality is, unfortunately, right now I'm in a period where I don't listen to music on most days. Just saying that sounds absolutely wild to me. I don't understand. I mean, I'm gone from living in a world where music was my entire life. It was my work. It was my hobby. I was constantly surrounded by it and listening to it. And now I'm living in a place where I go days where I don't listen to it at all. Now, that's just where I am right now, my emotional journey. But I do have days, and let's talk about the positive spin here, because we need to end this video on a positive note. Here's the positive spin. We have to appreciate what we've got. And I've said this several times, if all I have is music that sounds terrible, I will take that over no music whatsoever. Now that's me on a positive day. Again, then the next day I can have a day where I don't want to listen to it at all. But I do have days where, my husband and I are driving to the grocery store. Listening to the music in the car is the worst for me. It's just, spatially, it's weird because I only have mics on one side. And depending on where the speaker placement is, I don't hear it very well. I'm to the point now where even songs that I know, I'm starting to really even not recognize those either. It's really frustrating. But, like this weekend we were driving to the grocery store and I'm like, okay, I can see the name of that song. Yep, I can hear the melody pretty much in rhythm enough. And I was trying to enjoy it. Yeah, I like this song. Yeah, I remember. I'm trying to imagine that bass line. Yeah, I remember that. And just trying to enjoy what I've got. Now, again, it could get better for me. I'm going in for a tweak in early February, which again is just for speech, but I don't know. Maybe that'll help. Eventually, when I get that second CI, maybe that will help. But right now my reality is I'm certainly not making music and I'm not listening to it very much. And I'm just accepting that that's okay right now. It's honestly really challenged me to look at what is my life without it. And maybe I was too codependent with it. And now here I am in a situation where I am learning to live day to day without it. And I think my last positive spin on that is I will say maybe that is the best hidden blessing of this whole thing is the education I've gotten from who am I really? Who is my identity? Where is my life centered on? And if that were completely gone, would I be okay? And I'm starting to find myself living without it. And sure, I'm still really emotionally having a hard time with it, but I'm doing it. And I'm finding other things, and maybe I'll do another video about that. But I'm finding other ways to express myself creatively right now. I'm finding other things. But if the hidden blessing is, yeah, it's terrible to have a life where music isn't really in it anymore, but it's possible. It's absolutely possible. And there are other things in this life to look at and see and be in awe of. And there are other mediums of creativity and art and other ways to be moved through film, and just there are other things. I never, I don't know. The summary is, yeah, I'm still having a really hard time with it, a really really hard time with it, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and and I'm not doing it alone. That's the last bit of parting advice I'll give is make sure you've got support. I have a great therapist. I have a very supportive husband and partner who has just been walking with me every step through this. I personally have faith. I have faith in my life that this is all a part of my story. And all these things together have been an amazing support system for me. So if music has been wrecked for you by Meniere's disease, or if you now are having to experience music through a cochlear implant and you're having a tough time and you just want to rage and let the whole world know that it's completely unfair and terrible, I get it. Feel free to rage in the comments below. If you would like to rage, rage below. Let's rage together. And, if anything, maybe this is just another little way we can experience a little bit of support and community together.